Sports Minister Nathi Mthethwa is stepping onto the pitch against Cricket South Africa. It comes as the CSA Members Council and Interim Board failed to adopt a new governance structure. Earlier in the week, it seemed the issue was done and dusted as agreement had been reached between the Members Council and also the Interim Board. But the special general meeting has seemingly brought another twist about, voted against the adoption of amendments to the Memorandum of Incorporation. Just 6 of the 14 affiliates voted for the amendments, well short of the 75% required, with CSA expressing its dissatisfaction. Now, Mthethwa says he's left with no choice but to intervene, expressing his disappointment at what he's calling a missed opportunity. Do stay with us, chatting or coming up now. Let's get more clarity on these developments with our sports reporter, Hlone Mtikulu, who has been following these events. Hlone, good morning to you. Just to recap, tell us more about what exactly unfolded at yesterday's gathering.
Morning, Jeffrey. So yesterday was meant to be a special general meeting by Cricket South Africa to amend the Memorandum of Incorporation, which is basically Cricket South Africa's Bible, how they run things. That special general meeting, agreement on it was finally decided, I think, the day before, because actually yesterday was meant to be CSA's annual general meeting, but they're not at that point yet, because the sticking point, the big sticking point around what's happening with Cricket South Africa and its governance issues is around that Memorandum of Incorporation. The fact that the Nicholson report in 2012 said that, or recommended rather, that the board of CSA needs to be an independent board with majority independent directors, and also that it should be led by an independent chairperson. So, there's been wrangling about this between the Members' Council and the Interim Board, which was appointed by the Sports Minister. And eventually, last week, we had heard from the Sports Minister and from the Interim Board that there was agreement reached on this. And yesterday was meant to be a special general meeting to vote on this. But that didn't happen. Because the Members' Council didn't vote on it, or not enough members voted to change this amendment. SASCOC was there as well, and they had brought up their own concerns about the whole process, which the Minister dismissed, saying that you are the Sports Confederation, sure, but for the fact that I, as the Minister, am involved at this point, it does mean that when you were meant to be involved, you didn't resolve this matter. And that SASCOC had been involved around August, September last year. So it's been a long process, and yesterday was a very interesting process where, basically what was meant to happen, what they thought would happen, the Minister and the Interim Board didn't happen as per the Members' Council deciding not to vote for those amendments.
I loved your earlier description of describing these events as a sticking point. That must be the understatement of the year so far regarding Cricket South Africa and its governance issues. You've touched on the Minister's, Nathi Mthethwa's reaction. Let's just briefly move on to the Interim Board. Clearly could also not be satisfied with the way things have unfolded yesterday. What has been some of their reaction?
Well, so both the Minister and the Interim Board have expressed disappointment at the fact that the Members' Council didn't vote in to make those amendments. Again, they were under the impression last week when they released those statements that consensus had been reached between everyone actually on moving cricket forward and moving the governance structure of cricket forward. So I think they really thought that yesterday would be a formality, but the Members' Council and the Interim Board have been testing ever since the Interim Board was appointed in October last year. And actually, they were officially appointed in November last year because initially the Members' Council didn't want them or had issues with how they were appointed. So, there's some surprise, not really surprise, but there's some thinking as to how the the Interim Board and the Minister thought that yesterday would happen, given that the Members' Council has been resisting everything for such a long time. So, excuse me. So what happened yesterday wasn't a surprise, even though they are disappointed. And even as the Minister himself said that he is disappointed, and he will be stepping in terms of the National Sport and Recreation Act and exercising his powers to intervene in that matter.
Now, clearly the list of deception from Cricket South Africa towards Minister Nathi Mthethwa and his department is just increasing at this stage. What happens next?
So, in a statement released overnight, the minister says that he will be invoking his powers as per Section 13 of the National Sporting Reg Act, which speaks about dispute resolution. So, for the fact that, again, he appointed this interim board in October last year was because he had said at the time that he had seen that he needed to step in because the state of cricket and the state of governance of cricket had basically collapsed, and so he needed to step in as the minister. But with dispute resolution of sporting bodies, SASCOC first gets involved, but again, they got involved and that didn't help, so he's now forced to step in. And some of the things that he can do are to revoke funding and also to not recognize that federation as a national federation. So we don't know yet what exactly he will do. If he will, I guess, effectively suspend cricket, revoke funding. I mean, cricket stands on its own, basically, so that won't really be an issue. But I think it's certainly around the issues of national colours and the recognition of the federation. And there's also around hosting rights as well. But cricket isn't set to host anything for the immediate future. So if he does act, it might be the recognition of Cricket South Africa as a federation, and that's a huge step. So, yeah, and I'm not sure that he will actually do that. In this whole process that's unfolded since December 2019, he says he's been very slow and deliberate about acting or not acting, and he's been trying to let cricket resolve its own issues and work through its own issues, and not trying to interfere. So at the point when he's had to, the different points when he's had to, says it's because they haven't acted in the best interest of cricket and they needed to step in. So it remains to be seen what he will actually do. But he said that in the next few weeks, in the next few days into the week, he will be